Someone ask for democracy!
Santa Maria Madre de Dios.
The original Commando Ninja is a 2018 action comedy kind of spoof movie along the lines of Turbo Kid, if you have seen that. I really enjoyed it. I scored it an 8 out of 10. And in 2025 we finally get the sequel, American Ninja 2 Invasion America. Once again directed by Benjamin Coombs and stars Eric Carlesi. Now, these are actually French movies, believe it or not, despite the title and everything. But they are French movies, but they're obviously made to kind of homage American action movies, particularly of the kind of the 80s and 90s. Now, you can watch these in the French language, but they have actually on purposely done a kind of somewhat crappy American dub or English language dub that is deliberately cheesy, and it adds part of the fun. So I would actually suggest this to be watched with the dubbed because it's part of the kind of the charm of these movies. So 2 takes place in 1990, and we initially follow the character of Hopkins, who is a kind of a Vietnam vet character from the first movie, and he's suffering with he is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, and he's kind of having flashbacks about his days in Vietnam. And when he's out on patrol one day, he sees what he believes to be Viet Cong actually on American soil. Of course, he tells his commanding officer, who doesn't believe him and kind of puts it down to obviously his diagnosis. So he goes to his friend John Hunter, who initially again doesn't believe him, but ultimately decides to go and check it out along with Kowalski. All 3 of these Vietnam veterans, Kowalski actually being a kind of Terminator-like cyborg. Yeah, it is a comedy. And they discover, yes, indeed, there is Viet Cong on American soil, along with a cabal of Western-hating allies, including Russians, Nazis, various kind of Middle Eastern types, Ku Klux Klans, and all sorts of people. And they are being led by the mysterious Uncle Ho. And our trio of heroes try and track these down and end up in a kind of a lost world of Vietnam, where dinosaurs are roaming around Vietnam and they are forced to confront whatever is down there. What will happen? You will have to watch the movie and find out. So, let's discuss what works in this movie's favour. So, like the first movie, this incorporates many kind of genres. Primarily, I would say it's kind of a Red Dawn style movie, where this kind of Soviet forces are kind of attacking America. But there's elements of plenty of other movies. A lot of this movie, the second half of it, really takes place in this kind of lost world, this kind of Vietnam setting, but with dinosaurs. So we have, there's been another recent movie which kind of incorporates that as well, I suppose. Here it is. So there's kind of loads of elements here. As I say, you've got action in regards to various kind of shootouts, dinosaurs, we've even got zombies, various kind of science fiction elements to it as well. Lots of kind of gunplay. So there's a whole lot of fun to be had here with this kind of crazy sort of premise. Think along the lines of the kind of Hot Shot movies. It's kind of a little bit like that, but it's not the kind of sort of spoof movie all throughout. It's a little bit more sort of narratively structured, I suppose, than maybe these spoof movies, but it's along those lines. And again, maybe like Kung Fury or Turbo Kid, if you've kind of seen them. Lots of kind of like references to the 80s, down to little kind of like things in the background that they don't draw too much attention to, but you'll see various kind of little nods to 80s properties. Some are more overt, like the beginning we have a kind of an It style sequence, but it has a kind of Jaw style music to it. Other times you'll see just kind of things in the background, like we'll see like Kroll on the TV, and we actually do see a little bit of Red Dawn on the TV. Other things it will be like props, like we see like a prop from Indiana Jones and things like this. So there's kind of plenty of kind of references and kind of fun stuff here. It's gloriously over the top at times, and there's like a sequence, for example, that involves this hordes of Viet Cong zombies, and there's absolutely thousands of them, and it's, you know, it's a kind of a fun sequence. And again, this is a lower budget movie. I think it was 50,000 euros. It was quite amazing, really, what they've done with it when you consider how many sort of like things they've been trying to incorporate. Like this cool looking zombie makeup, loads of kind of over the top gore. It's a kind of jokey gore. It's not really particularly sort of trying to be realistic. It's trying to be like over the top and silly, deliberately so, but I think it kind of works in context with the movie. But you've also got sort of CGI sort of dinosaurs and various kind of like you know, use of kind of military vehicles flying all around and stuff like that. Lots of kind of explosions and stuff. So for the kind of the clear low budget that it is, it's an absolute, you know, like the first movie, it's a real fun experience. I think our cast, you know, are very charismatic. Our supporting characters actually get a little bit more screen time in this one. This is much more of a three-man mission with not just our main character, the Commando Ninja, John Hunter, but our other two, Hopkins and Kowalsky, as well, get a good amount of screen time, and in particular, you know, Hopkins is really a kind of a joint lead, I would say, to be honest with you. It's as much his story as it is Eric Carlesi's John Hunter, the Commando Ninja. And we get a few kind of new characters added as well, some of which are quite fun. The movie actually slows down and has a little bit more poignancy at times. There's a little bit about, I don't know if it's misplaced, if I'm completely honest, but there are times here where it tries to have a little bit more commentary. For example, we have trying to understand your enemy and trying to understand that they have lives. So, you know, we have the John Hunter character as American trying to understand that this Vietnamese woman, for example, who is like a VC soldier, has her own kind of life and family and all of that. So, and he's never really considered it. So it does try to have a little bit more quieter, serious moments, and there's a little bit of kind of almost a little bit of political commentary on this movie. So there's not a lot, but there is certainly a little bit as towards the end of the movie. If you were a fan of the original movie, there's much more of the same here, but put a pin in this because I do have some critiques. So I really enjoyed the original movie, which ran around, it was 68 minutes. It was a quick, snappy, high energy movie that had loads of action, good humours and fun characters. The main problem with the second one, it is 2.5 hours long. And that in itself is a problem, which we'll talk about, but it also leads to other problems. So the length. Does a spoof movie need to be 2.5 hours long? I don't know if it does. I think the joke feels a little bit stretched out. And I have to be honest with you, I didn't know that this was such a long time. Even when I started to put the movie on, I ordered the Blu-ray. And I just didn't even think to look at the runtime. And I was getting through probably about halfway, and I thought, this feels like I've only just started like the Lost World story. And I had a look, and yeah, it's 2.5 hours. And I was thinking, blimey, I just don't know if there's really the appetite for such a long movie in this kind of style. It seems odd when the first movie was, as I say, 68 minutes. It's more than twice the length. And I have to say, you feel it. You feel the length of this movie. But it also has other problems associated with that. And these are my main problems with this film. the length I feel is just too long. The other issue that is a symptom of the length is the movie feels less high energy. One of the things I really enjoyed about the first movie, it's high impact, high energy. It was kind of quickly paced, and you know, it was all very much kinetic. That you had this kind of electric feel where you were just kind of going from one scene to the next, and you were kind of going along on this high adrenaline ride. This isn't the case with this movie. Now, I'm not saying this is a slow movie per se, but it feels a lot kind of lower energy. Even the action sequences, there's like longer pauses in the action sequences. You know, you'll get people kind of lining up for shots and things like this, and the action sequences don't just seem quite as kind of snappy because you have like extra time in these kind of sequences for people kind of like running around, sort of getting into position and things like this, and it just lacks the energy, unfortunately, that the first one had. Now, I do feel you could probably edit this movie down to have a more snappy movie, but it just think that the pacing, although I would say this is not exactly a slow-paced movie, but it is a symptom of the length of this movie, where you just feel it's lacking that bite of the original. As well, that doesn't help. I just feel it's missing some elements. Like, one of the things I liked about the first movie was the incorporation of like the music, and yes, it still has obviously some kind of fun music in it. But in particularly the first half of the movie, I just noticed it just had a lack of kind of music, and in scenes that it just needed some. It's a bit better in the second half, I would say, but again, it's just not quite incorporated. And again, this is going to be my speculation here. Now, again, we have to bear in mind what I'm going to say next. We are talking about a low-budget movie, but I also don't think the effects are incorporated quite as well. Now, the original movie, again, that was a lower-budget movie than this, but I think because you had less screen time, I have to, and again, in my speculation here, I can't help but feel that the effects were better in a way because you spent less time looking at them in a way. And here, the effects stick out a little bit more. There's more obvious kind of green screen. The CGI sort of sticks out a little bit more. It's not quite incorporated. Maybe, and again, my speculation is because this has more effects, more VFX, spread through the much longer runtime of this movie. Like, we do see quite a lot of these kind of dinosaurs, and some are done practically like the raptors, but some of the digital backgrounds, the explosions, they stand out a little bit more. That they are more kind of composite CGI effects. Whilst I didn't really notice it so much in the first movie. And again, I wonder if it's because the budget has been spread thinner, because it's over a movie more than double the length of the original, that the effects just aren't quite as good, because you're seeing, you know, as I say, a 2.5 hour movie, and it's spread thinner. So there's that. Now, Eric Carlesi is more like a co-lead here. He has put on a lot of weight in this movie. He's more like a tank in this film than the kind of the more lean kind of look he had in the first movie, and he's not quite as dynamic in regard to the action sequences. You know, he's a big guy in regards to sort of having that kind of bodybuilder sort of build, but he's not exactly ninja stealthy or anything like that. So he doesn't really have as much in regards to the kind of the physicality that he had in the original movie, and I wonder if that's why the character of Hopkins is kind of brought up to be more of a co-lead here. The humour, it's a funny movie, and there are some kind of fun moments in it, but they literally ripped jokes off of other films. There's a joke in here which is just a rip-off of Austin Powers. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I get it's a homage, but you can't really lift like a joke wholesale. you know, it struck me as an odd choice. I mean, there's homages that are kind of like, you know, making jokes about like non-comedy movies, but taking a scene from like Austin Powers and just kind of like recreating it seemed like an odd choice. And again, because of this, the kind of the slow down pace of this movie, some of the kind of the jokes feel overplayed. Some of the kind of the slower moments, the more character moments, drag a little bit. I couldn't believe it because I was really excited to watch this movie, but I found myself wanting to check my phone a couple of times. So it's fair to say I still enjoyed this movie, but I was a little disappointed. Now, you could probably cut this movie down to be maybe not as short as the first one, but maybe like 90 to 100 minutes, and I think it would be a much snappier movie. And, you know, Ben Coombs, who is the writer, the director, the editor, quite importantly, the producer of this movie, I think, again, this is his baby, and I would suggest to get a producer maybe to kind of have another look at it. But it is what it is. It's the film that we've got. I personally still enjoyed this movie, but I was thinking, would I want to watch this again? And the answer is I probably wouldn't. Whilst I have watched the original like 3 times at this point, and I would probably watch the original again, happily, but I just don't know if I'd want to watch this movie again. So it is a disappointment, but it's not a bad movie in actual fact. I would still say what's good about it is worth a watch, but maybe it's a one-time watch. So it's a 6 out of 10. Would you see it? Have you seen it? Please let me know your thoughts, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.